Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Matters of Faith, the radio show. Matters of Faith is a show designed to bring issues of interest to you, the listening and viewing audience, that will put a biblical perspective on everyday issues. I am your host, the Reverend Dr. J. Lauren Russell, and it is my job to engage you in stimulating dialogue that's inspiring, encouraging, and motivating, dialogue and conversations that will help you build your determination, your commitment, and your character, conversations that will help you keep the faith. Everyone born of God overcomes the world. This is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith. 1 John chapter 5, verse 4. And now, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, without further ado, it is time for Matters of Faith, the radio show. Good evening, everybody. It's Monday, January 19th. It's 8 o'clock, and it's time for Matters of Faith, the radio show. I am your host and executive producer, Reverend Dr. J. Lauren Russell. It's also Martin Luther King Recognition Day, so we will pause for just a second to give him special recognition. Our topic tonight, take a stand, not a seat. Our very special guest is Reverend Dr. Roger Lee Hambrick, pastor of the Green Pastures Baptist Church. We're broadcasting live on our Matters of Faith YouTube channel, as well as the Matters of Faith and the J. Lauren Russell Facebook groups. Telephone and tell a friend. They don't want to miss this episode tonight with our very special guest, Reverend Dr. Roger Lee Hambrick. And please, ma'am, please, sir, don't forget to support our sponsors and advertisers, the JLR Company and J. Lauren R. Consulting LLC, for all your church financial consulting needs. JLORENR at JLR.LLC, or call 718-328-8096. It's not about the castle. It's all about the kingdom. And Matters of Faith, the book. The hard copy can be acquired from our Zelle account, JLORENR at JLR.LLC. The book is $24.15. You can also send a check or money order to the JLR Company, Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. That's P.O. Box 301, New York, New York 10035. And you can also get it as an ebook, so you can take it with you wherever you go. www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. And don't forget to check out the Eat Okra app for black-owned restaurants and a whole lot more about food all over the nation. That's right, Eat Okra. Professional, compassionate, and family-friendly services at your time of bereavement. John J. Fox & Sons Incorporated Funeral Services. If you need them, know that they proudly serve the Bronx community and have been doing so for the last 125 years. When you're in need, give them a call, 718-733-9114. That's 718-733-9114. John J. Fox & Sons Funeral Services. Your focus in your business are on profitability, and rightly so. Your church is on spiritual excellence, and it should be. But if you let E.G. Edwards and Associates Incorporated handle your accounting and taxation needs, they do it with competence and professional excellence, and it will take your mind off of a lot of the things that you need to do in order to maintain your business profitability and your spiritual excellence. They're just a phone call away. 718-949-5181. 718-949-5181. E.G. Edwards and Associates are here to help. 718-949-5181. And please get your subscription to Better Mag magazine today. A 2-year subscription is still only $27.50, and you can get it by going to www.abettermag.com. That's www.abettermag.com. And please, ma'am, please, sir, subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. That's Matters of Faith YouTube channel. And while you're at it, please subscribe to the Matters of Faith blog. Just go to www.mattersoffaith.blog, put in your email address, tap the Sign Me Up link, and you'll get an email. Confirm it, and anytime and every time anything is published through Matters of Faith, you will be notified. So make sure that you support and sponsor our advertisers and our sponsors. I'm still super excited about our Matters of Faith blog. Please go to www.mattersoffaith.blog. www.mattersoffaith.blog. Click the subscribe button. Type in your email address. Hit that bar that says sign me up. You will receive a confirmation of thanks and then a confirmation email. If you confirm that, you will receive everything that we publish. www.mattersoffaith.blog. And now,
Nope, don't want to skip that, y'all. Hey, listen, for those of you who are going to be in the metropolitan area tomorrow evening, I invite you to join us at the Baptist Ministers Evening Conference of the Bronx and Vicinity. We start the service at 7:30. I will be the order of service or the preacher for the evening. We meet at Mount Bethel Baptist Church, 698 Cortlandt Avenue in the Bronx. That's 698 Cortlandt Avenue in the Bronx, 10451. Again, we start service at 7:30 p.m. and I will be the order of service or the preacher for that evening, tomorrow evening at 7:30 p.m. Baptist Ministers Evening Conference of the Bronx and Vicinity.
and now the devotional. Take a stand, not a seat. That devotional can be found in my link, mattersoffaith.blog. That's www.mattersoffaith.blog. It can also be found in the Yonkers Insider, www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. That's www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. The column is also carried in Better Mag magazine, www.abettermag.com, www.abettermag.com. The column is also carried in the Positive Community magazine and or newsletter, www.thepositivecommunity.com, www.thepositivecommunity.com. You can also find the column in Pamela's Big Heart newsletter. Take a stand, not a seat. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 15, New King James Version. Therefore, brethren, stand fast and hold the traditions which you were taught, whether by word or our epistle. Take a stand, not a seat. To stand is not exceptional for the Christian. It is expected. It is not extraordinary to stand firm in faith, to go where others dare not go, to speak what others are afraid to say, or to live visibly as an ambassador for Christ. This is normal Christianity, and yet, though it is not exceptional, it is increasingly rare. Paul writes to the church at Thessalonica with a clear and urgent charge: stand fast. His words still confront us today because he reminds us that our faith was never meant to take a seat. It was meant to take a stand. We were not given a sit-down faith. We were given a faith that stands up, speaks out, and holds on. When Paul says stand fast and hold the traditions which you were taught, he is calling believers to cling tightly to the truth of God's word, whether it was taught in person or written in a letter. Truth is our anchor. The word is our source of clarity, accuracy, and power. Without it, we drift. With it, we endure. And endurance is exactly what is required during times of trouble and trial. In seasons of suffering and sorrow, through persecution or poverty, in unemployment and uncertainty, in heartbreak, sickness, and overwhelming circumstances, we are charged to stand. The word or the world will try to seat us with fear, silence us with pressure, and distract us with discomfort. But we must remember, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Whether loved or hated, blessed or cursed, embarrassed or opposed, we stand on the promise that we were chosen for this moment. Someone loved us enough to take a stand and to die so that we could live. Now we honor that sacrifice by standing firm in faith. Persecuted or prospered, abused or advanced, broken or blessed, homeless or heroic, an inmate or an investor, sick or well, in every condition, the call remains the same: stand. Scripture declares that when we suffer for doing what is right, it is commendable before God. 1 Peter 2:20. Faith that stands is faith that endures, and faith that endures is faith that glorifies God. Tomorrow, we will celebrate the birth of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a man who was not afraid to take a stand in the face of tormentors, systemic racism, segregation, threats of physical injury and death, economic oppression, and even ridicule and rejection from members of his own community. He stood firm. He stood when it was dangerous. He stood when it was costly. He stood when it was lonely. And isn't it ironic that many of his detractors and persecutors, especially those who lived long after his assassination, came to regret their position? That is exactly what James was talking about when he wrote, "They will be ashamed of themselves for falsely accusing you when you have only done what is good." James 2:13. I've paraphrased it. Dr. King was willing to declare loud and clear that hate and racism have no place in society founded on the truth that all people are created equal. His stand was not rooted in politics alone. It was rooted in faith, in truth, and in the unshakable conviction that justice is God's idea. So today, we are challenged to make up our minds to stand firm in faith, to grip the truth tightly, and to hold fast to what we have been taught. Because in the end, we have only two choices. We either stand for our faith or we sit because of foolishness. Be blessed. And now here's my question. What has the fear of rejection, ridicule, or loss kept you silent about when God wanted you to speak? Let me ask it again. What has the fear of rejection, ridicule, or loss kept you silent about when God wanted you to speak? Matters of Faith family, it really gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce to some and then to present to others my very special guest this evening, the Reverend Dr. Roger Lee Hambrick, a talented and anointed man of God who is the pastor of the Green Pasture Baptist Church of the Bronx, New York. He is a native of Elbert, West Virginia, who later relocated with his family to the Bronx, New York. He had a strong denominational upbringing, Methodist, Apostolic, and Baptist, and was raised in a strict religious household. He joined the Green Pasture Baptist Church at the age of 6. He has attended this church for over 56 years and has pastored for over 23 years after being elected in 2003 following his father, the late Reverend Walter Clyde Hambrick. His love for music began at the age of 3 years old when he sang with his sisters, the Hambrick sisters, under the direction of their father. He was a favorite during their elementary school assemblies from kindergarten till 6th grade graduation, playing the guitar and singing with his younger sister, Tara. He has recorded and offered a recording contract by Stax Records, but his father felt he was too young at the time. In his late teenage years, he sang and won at many talent contests as a soloist around the city, and was requested to join one of his competitors, an all-male group called Love Delivery. He sang with them until he became a rapper in a group called Solo Sound, featuring some noted artists, Davey DMX, Hurricane of Love and Hip Hop, and Curtis Blow. He used his stage name, DJ Guard, short for Bogart. After singing background vocals on Curtis Blow and Davey D records, he returned to his roots, gospel music. His leadership experience began as organizer and one of the directors of the 150-member combined choirs of Baptist churches, Green Pastures Baptist Church, Loyal Baptist Church, and Goodwill Baptist Church. He later teamed with Minister Eric McDaniel, now Bishop McDaniel, for the International Youth Fellowship Convention, where young choir members from different churches in the Bronx attended and at the end of the week recorded a live album. He gave it to me. After the recording, Beverly Tyson, a board member, suggested the choir be renamed the Bronx Mass Choir. Minister Eric McDaniel, after 4 years, left to focus on his preaching ministry, and Roger Hambrick was elected as the leader and has been directing the Bronx Mass Choir for over 35 years. Under his leadership, they recorded 3 more albums. We've Come to Praise Him, which received 8 Excellence Awards, nominations from the Gospel Music Workshop of America, Heaven, and Bronx Mass Live at Lehman Center for the Performing Arts. Soon after, the Bronx Mass Choir, and under the direction of Reverend Roger Hambrick, they taught Osaka and how am I pronounce this? Fukuoka, Japan. Dr. Hambrick was an educator for the New York City Board of Education and returned to Japan for 3 weeks as an educator at the Soul Bird Music School. He later returned to his alma mater, Manhattanville College, as director and instructor to a gospel choir that he was asked to form. His aim is to create an atmosphere of spiritual unity through song for people everywhere, regardless of genre, race, or denomination. So, Matters of Faith family, would you welcome with me tonight my very special guest and my friend, this dynamic preacher of the gospel, this dynamic singer and choir director, Reverend Dr. Roger Lee Hambrick, pastor of Green Pastures Baptist Church in the Bronx, New York.
I think I got you. I think I got you. Good evening, my good brother, and welcome to Matters of Faith. I'm so glad to see you. Thank you for taking my offer. And by the way, I did make a mispronunciation. That's the Interdenominational Youth Fellowship Convention, not the international, but you did go international. Anyway, but I just want to make sure I got it right. And listen, man, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I really appreciate it on this very, very auspicious occasion. This is the anniversary of the celebration of Dr. King's birthday, so this is most appropriate. Now,
Yeah.
listen, before I ask you anything, before you open your mouth, I have to ask you a question. I ask every one of my guests, I'm going to ask you tonight. I read your bio, some of it anyway. I didn't read the whole thing. I abbreviated, y'all. I abbreviated it. But I want you to tell us something about you that we don't know, and we really should know.
Something that you don't know.
Yep, and we really should know.
Um, uh, that I'm the kind of person that once God leads me to do something, I try to stick with it until the Lord tells me different. And so that's why choirs that I was directing, that I continue to do so. I believe that God opened opportunities for me. Other ministries that I was in, I continue to do them. I do a lot of street ministry.
Mhm.
I go out. I'm a part of a group called SUV, which is for Stand Up to Violence. And when there are shootings in the community, we go out and we pray for the community for healing. Uh, and we minister to the brothers who are actually involved in those shootings to try to bring peace and mediate the situation. So that's something that most people don't know that I do. That is a passion that I love to do, and that's the answer to your question.
It is, and I appreciate that. And I know a little bit about that background, but I like the part that you talked about when you said that you basically function at God's direction and don't change it until He tells you to.
Right.
I like that.
I don't, because I don't want him to switch up on me. So if he gives me something, I try to be consistent with everything. There's always opportunities that people offer you to do
Absolutely.
other things, and you have to be very careful because sometimes it doesn't line up with what God has called you to do.
That's exactly right. And that's why I said I like it because some people are what I call wishy-washy,
Mhm.
whatever way the wind blows, that's the way they go.
Yep.
And so the inconsistency is there.
Hmm.
I talked about that actually in the article. I said, it's well, I sort of touched on it. I'll talk about it a little later on, but it's the rule rather than the exception. The rule is that you go where the wind blows and you don't
Hmm.
stick it out. So
Right.
so consequently, our ministries, and I'm saying our ministries, not yours or mine, but the ministries that we encounter day to day here or there, it seems to they come and they go because there's no continuity.
Right.
More often than I would like to see happen. So
Right.
I congratulate you on that. And I think that takes a lot of commitment, dedication, and perseverance because it's hard to take a stand, when when so many things are sort of pushing you in another direction, but it's
Right.
not the voice of the Lord.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
and a lot of people they switch up because they're actually looking for fame or a higher
yeah,
position or whatever. Um, those things have never been something that I've like pursued like that. I just waited on the Lord to
Mm.
open up doors, and I just happened to be there, and then I would embrace whatever was open.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things I admire most about you is that aspect of you. The SUV part, stand up to violence. I get that because I do likewise, and
Mhm.
we've encountered each other on the streets and stuff like that in different
Right,
communities because it's important that you take that stand, that everyone take that stand because if they don't see you there, then of course you don't exist.
right.
And so your perspective, your position doesn't exist for them because nobody cares.
Hmm.
Nobody cares. So, we just shoot each other up, and that's it.
Right.
That's it. Well, anyway, welcome to Matters of Faith, my brother. I'm so glad that you're here. We're talking about actually what we're talking about now is really in line with what it is that we're going to be talking about tonight in terms of taking a stand and making a difference in the communities in which we serve. We can stop that share now. I really want to make it plain to everyone that we all must be involved in this process. And today being Dr. King's the day that we celebrate his birthday was the 15th, but the day that we're celebrating his birth, it's important to take a look at the commitments that we've made to society and to ourselves and to our Lord. What are we going to do to make this world a better place? And as Dr. King said, so that my living will not have been in vain.
Right.
So,
Well, yes, we must continue. I truly believe that being people of peace, and I believe even what the Bible says, blessed are the peacemakers, and that's what we need to do. We need to try to make peace, and sometime in trying to make peace, there's a little friction,
mm-hmm,
you know,
mm-hmm,
and so people sometimes they don't understand that. But I stand on what Dr. Martin Luther King, what he stood for, and it's a blessing because sometimes even in my life, things have lined up to where I don't know if you remember a few years ago, there was a massive shooting over on Wheeler Avenue with a brother called Amadou Diallo,
yes, of course.
and his home was like a couple of blocks from my church,
Right.
and the borough president at that time, Fernando Ferreira, I believe that was who it was.
Yeah, it was Panera forever.
He
Right.
had called. He had a ministers' conference, a ministers' council. I don't know if you remember that back then, but I was just there representing my father. I mean, I wasn't a pastor, and there was pastors, bishops, rabbis, different people from
Right.
different faiths in the
Right.
room, Muslim brothers,
Mm-hmm.
and he seen that the verdict for that was going to go uh, to the left, or actually toward the police, in that shooting when the man only took out his wallet when he got shot, and he was worried about that folk are going to tear up the Bronx,
Right.
you
Right.
know,
Right. Right.
as they have done in many other cities, and so he asked what could we do to keep the peace, and with all of those leaders in the room, of different denominations, no one had an answer. And I just heard the Spirit of the Lord speak to me and say, have a march and a prayer. And so I raised my hand, and I know I'm not a pastor, but um, something just said to me, have a march and a prayer. And the borough president said, wow, when you said that, like I had chills up both my arms. He said, and I think that's what we need to do. And all of the pastors agree. And some of the pastors said, I heard the same thing. I just didn't say anything because, they were thinking about where there's supposedly be this separation of church and state, that
Right.
situation.
Right.
And they didn't
Right.
want to bring
Right.
prayer into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did it. And we set it up from the four corners of the Bronx, and they would pray in different locations, and then we would come together that night at my church and have a service there. And my choir, the Bronx Mass Choir, was singing. And but when we marched from Parkchester to Fratelli Avenue,
Mhm.
I met a gentleman there who was a rabbi,
Mm.
and his name was Avi Weiss. And we were talking. I was telling him, my church is a former synagogue, and he was like, "Oh wow, that's great." And he sang a song called "Brothers and Friends" that really touched me
Hmm.
before he did a prayer. And I told him, "I want that music. Where'd you get that from?" And he told me it was written by a gentleman by the name of Shlomo Kalabach, who is supposed to be the greatest writer in Jewish history, other than King David. you
Mm.
know, and he's really popular in the Jewish community. And so we talked, and then he said, "Listen, why don't you come to my synagogue on Dr. Martin Luther King Day,
Mm.
and so that we could come together, to celebrate his, Dr. Martin Luther King." And I said, "Sure." So I brought my choir there, and for the first time, and we wound up singing there for 19 years straight.
Wow.
Now about the 15th year, Shlomo Kalabach, who is deceased, his daughter had came. I mean, Shlomo Kalabach had history of going into black churches and taking black male singers and putting them on his recordings.
Mm.
And he even did concerts with Nina Simone.
Okay.
They were very close.
Okay.
Um, and and so it was great that this is like history repeating itself. Now the rabbi brought me in, and his daughter winds up showing up, and I'm singing her father's song, "Brothers and Friends." And
Okay.
guess what happens? She invites me to tour with her with the
Wow.
choir. So we
Okay.
wound up touring the world, going to Israel, going all over the country,
Mm.
and people were showing up, just because we
You were
did
there.
this Martin Luther
Right.
King
Right.
celebration. It opened up and caused a fellowship that you would never imagine. There was even one guy who came to one of the earlier performances, and he said, he saw me and he said, "I came here to stop this." you know he said, I want to hear. I said, "But before I stop it, I want to hear what this foolishness is."
Hmm.
Because we were singing Shlomo's music
Right.
and gospel music.
Okay.
And so it blessed him so much that he took $500 and put it in my hand and said, "You changed my life."
Wow.
But
Wow.
see, that's just following the Spirit of the Lord from that one day when He told me what to say,
Right.
and how it led to something else. I wasn't seeking anything, but it opened up the door, and it happened on Martin. And so here we're in the synagogue and we're singing "We Shall Overcome." We're singing, all of these songs that Martin Luther King would do during the march. And there were Jewish brothers and sisters who participate in the
Absolutely.
marches.
Absolutely.
You understand? And they were very serious about this day. I mean, very serious. And so that's just something that when you said what you said, that I thought about how all of that came together uh, as a celebration of Martin. And so to be here today is really a great experience. I appreciate you even inviting me to come.
Well, I've always said that, the people say, how did you get your guests to come? I said, I pray about it. And the Lord will tell me who to invite. And I was saying, and I didn't even have a topic when I reached out to you.
Hmm.
But somehow or another, the Lord always puts the right things together.
You did.
If you trust Him,
Yes.
my not New Year resolution, but I preached a sermon last week and I talked about it last week on the show because I wrote the article, "Stress Less, Trust More,
Hmm.
Live Blessed." And
Okay.
so that's what I'm doing. I'm stressing less, I am trusting more, and I am living blessed. Now I do that all the time, but I'm sharing it now with the world because I want them to do that. In fact, I shared it tonight, this afternoon. I had the opportunity to speak to the Valiant group. There's a group of students. They call themselves the Valiant group. Valiant, you muted yourself. And I guess where they're from. Guess where they're at?
Where?
At Hattonville College. Now, I've been preaching for them. I have been presenting to them for the last 4 or 5 years at their Martin Luther King celebration.
Wow.
So, when I was reading your bio and I was thinking about it, I said, yeah, isn't that interesting that see all of these things come together, but you can't make these things up.
No, you can't.
But if you're obedient and if you do what the Lord is requiring you, if you speak up when you're supposed to speak up and remain quiet when you're supposed to remain quiet, he puts all of those things together and the scripture becomes real. All things work together for good to those who love the Lord and
There
are
you go.
according to his purpose. And
Yes.
so we then see that, because before, we try to do it ourselves.
Hmm.
We try to manufacture it. Now we are creative because we were created in the image of God,
Hmm.
but he is the creator.
Hmm.
We make things out of something else. He makes
Right.
things out of nothing.
Right.
So it's a little different. His is super supreme, and ours just like we just make stuff up.
And hope that we go in the right way.
Exactly, 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 exactly. But yeah, that's kind of like, and then and I was writing as I was writing this devotional. It kind of struck me because it is Martin Luther King's birthday. And this, by the way, I should share it with everyone. This Martin Luther King's birthday has a very special significance to me
Hmm.
because 54 years ago, my mother passed away. My mother died on Martin Luther King's birthday,
Wow.
54 years ago. She just literally collapsed and died. She had
Mm,
an embolism and
mm,
took her out. And so, there I was with my family, my sister, my brothers, my father, one of my friends was there, and we all witnessed this for ourselves. And so there's something significant about his birthday. She passed away on the 17th. His birthday was the 15th, but we
mm.
were celebrating his birthday. It wasn't a holiday at the time,
Uh-huh.
but we celebrated it in our communities. We preempted the official
Right.
launch of
Right.
that. So,
Right.
and then he died one day after my mother's birthday.
Mm.
So I've always thought this spiritual connection with Dr.
Right.
King in my own heart, in my own life. And he was born in the same year that my dad was born.
Hmm.
So there was always this kind of spiritual, as connection that I had with Dr. King. And when I began to study him, because when I was a kid, of course, I was a young kid when he died, as you know, because we're the same age.
Hmm.
So I was a young kid, but when I began to study who he was and looked at the legacy that he left, I began to understand that it wasn't by coincidence that these things came together, and that I have this sort of special connection to Dr. King's mission and what he wanted to do, and that desire to stand for something so that you don't fall for anything.
Right.
And so this, when I was writing this devotional, it kind of struck me that um, we tend to not emphasize or not stand strong enough in our faith to make a difference in our own community sometimes.
Hmm.
And so that's where it came from. And so you, having known you, having worked with you, we do many things together. One of the things that
Exactly.
I do a lot of homegoing services, and you are a musician, and you
Right.
do them yourself. And so we came together for that. And then I wanted to publicly thank you for inviting me to preach at your church once. You said, because they have to hear those numbers that you do.
They had
And
to.
I thought that really, really nice of you to do that, because yeah, and I think that the Lord has, and you know this. I mean, that's one of the most profound invitations to discipleship I've ever seen in my life.
Mm.
I mean, because people, everybody just says yes. I mean, I've never seen anything like that before.
Right.
And then they tell me years later, I see people later on, they said, yeah, when you said it, it made the difference, and they came. And they don't have to come to the church that I'm serving. They don't have to come to the church that I worship at. But
Hmm.
this is kingdom building.
Right.
And I like kingdom building.
Exactly.
I just show up somewhere, just be somewhere,
Exactly.
be in somebody's home church so that you can be in relationship and develop that relationship. So I wanted to publicly thank you for all of that too.
Oh,
So we've been doing this for a while.
yes, 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 and along with what you're saying as well, the community we're in, there are no, there's not many black people in my community.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, they have people who are in shelters
Mm-hmm.
right next to the church,
Mm.
and there are some blacks in there, and the Lord had told us that there will be people who will come and actually come to the church, and they weren't going to stay at the church
Mm.
because, and you could kind of understand they're in the shelter, they're going to move them
Right.
eventually.
Correct.
But when they come for that time they're there, minister to them because hopefully they'll join somewhere else.
Correct.
You understand? And that's the same thing like what you do. You minister at those funerals. You may never see those people again.
Right.
The hopes are that they will join some church and get connected and get teaching. While they're there. But that's what we're supposed to do. I mean, everyone is not going to become a member of our churches.
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
Paul said it best, right? Paul says, I plant,
yeah,
Apollos
right.
waters, but
That's
God
it.
gives the increase.
That's it.
I don't, I mean, I'm leading a church, but I'm not, it would be nice if it became a mega church, but that's ridiculous.
No,
That's not the way in which the kingdom is built. The kingdom is
no,
built one heart at a time,
exactly,
one heart
exactly,
at a time. And so,
exactly.
I was sharing with the congregation on Sunday. And most of them, well, we did it online on Sunday because we're both online and in person, but there was, because of the weather, it was cold in the building. So we did it online.
Right.
And we had a large number of people online this past Sunday. And I said, I just want you guys to know that it's okay to be online
Mm-hmm.
because we're in the presence of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever you are, that's where the Lord is. I said, so, the church of yesterday, it's never going to be what it was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to live in the present,
In the
right? Yesterday is a canceled check. It's done. Tomorrow's a promissory note. It ain't coming.
Nope.
Only thing we have is the present. We got to live with what we've got, and we take what we have and we make it work for us. So I had people on. One person, where was she from? She's from California. Another from Georgia, and then Rhode Island and Philadelphia. I mean,
Mm.
this is what I call real outreach, because remember the Bible says when every ear is heard and
Mm-hmm.
given the opportunity to receive Christ, then the end will come.
Right.
So we're closer to that now because of technology. We can
Right.
reach places that we could never reach before,
Right.
ever.
Right.
And so, the multinational churches, I think that's a great thing. The church that I'm serving is right there on Washington Avenue, 168th Street in the Bronx. It's not, it's a big church, an old church, has been there forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we get things up and running. Like we've had some structural issues. The ceiling caved in.
Okay.
So
Wow.
we've had some of those issues. So we're in the
Mm-hmm.
process of rebuilding it. In fact, you know the Sylvesters, the Irons.
Yes.
Bert,
Mm-hmm.
Bert passed away.
Right.
And that's the church that I'm serving, the Evangelical Church of God.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're in the process of rebuilding the church and putting it back in shape. And so
Okay.
when that happens, we're going to be a church that's going to invite people to come into the sanctuary again,
Mm-hmm.
because it'll be there. The church the physical structure is there. And the
Exactly.
truth of the matter is, there are people everywhere.
Yes.
There's no vacancies in the community. There's not like a whole bunch of vacant apartments. The Bronx is not quote unquote burning anymore. This is like there's people everywhere.
Everywhere.
And as my friend used to say, my friend says, one of my good friends, he says, man, there's sinners everywhere. Go get you some. And if we go out and do that, then the stand that we're taking is that the faith that we have and the relationship that we have is good enough to save anybody.
Yes. Yes.
Anybody.
Yes. And you got
You
to
don't
be
have to
willing
speak
to
my
go out.
language. You don't have to
Got to.
speak my language. But you
That's
know what? The Spirit of the Lord will interpret for them.
right. Right. And what I did was we had our street our block party that we called it,
Mm-hmm.
and I invited a preacher
Mm-hmm.
who could come and who could speak their language.
Absolutely.
And listen, we had like maybe 30 chairs sitting
Mm-hmm.
there. They got full, and then people were standing behind them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Yes, I do.
So so you got to utilize those opportunities. You think, well, they wouldn't understand me, but they understood him. Just
Absolutely.
and so we were connected. So it's good. That I did that. So we just want to give them ministry.
Absolutely. Listen, I preach the Korean church. I don't speak no Korean. Only thing I know in Korean is Yabaseo.
That's
That's
it.
it. And that, and what's the other? Kimchi. That's it. That's it.
Wait, what does that mean?
Kimchi is no, that's a fruit that they eat. Very
Oh,
spicy fruit. That's it. When I was in seminary, right? I had a lot of Korean classmates,
okay.
and they said, they were talking about they miss kimchi, right?
Mhm.
So I'll bring you some kimchi. They said, you know how to give? I said, yeah, I live in the Bronx. You kidding me? we got Korean rest, like I'll get you some ice. So I brought them kimchi on a regular basis. They
Wow.
started calling me kimchi. So, I mean, listen, you speak to people in a language that they can understand. When I was
Right.
bringing the kimchi, they became friendly with me.
Yes, yes,
They opened up and they began to talk with me, and we became friends. And I don't
exactly.
speak Korean. They don't, they spoke English. Everybody speaks English, but I
Right.
don't speak any Korean. But
No.
they taught me a word or two.
Uh,
And then of course, but that's what I'm saying. When you are concerned about the people, as was said so many times, people don't care how much you know. They just want to know that you care.
right.
And
Right.
when you do that, people will come. And they will come broken English, broken what Spanish, whatever it is, but they will be there because they feel the love. Love is universal.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's what Dr. King always said. Love is universal. He said, darkness can't drive out darkness. Light has to do that.
Exactly.
Hate can't drive out hate. Love has to do that.
Love.
So we
Exactly.
love people, and the love will change the person's heart. Not what we say, not the things that we do, but just the love that we share. That's what changes people.
That love opens up because even as we used to go into the synagogue for Martin Luther King Day,
Mhm.
we went in there, we were singing and we were showing love. We embraced our brothers. We held hands and we sang with them. They sang, "We shall overcome with us." You
Mm.
know, and from that opened up other things. And what really took blessed them, just as when you learn a few things in their language, I learned to sing a few things in Hebrew.
Right,
And
right.
so they got, they liked that, because you had enough respect for them, and also that you had enough respect because, uh, well, people don't know that Jewish people don't say any of the names of God
Mm,
openly. They
mm,
don't. They don't do it.
mm.
So it doesn't matter that we came in and we sang and we didn't try to disrespect them or push our agenda on them. You understand? We just sang what we sang. I mean, we sang Total Praise. We sang
Right,
all kinds of different
right,
songs
right,
that they
right,
could be blessed from. You know
right.
what I mean? And then I started singing their music. So they felt a connection there, that we really cared. And then singing in their language as well, in Hebrew, it was really a blessing to them to see that we would go that far. So those Martin Luther King days they were so
Do
wonderful.
you
It was
still do
wonderful.
them? You don't do them anymore?
No, we haven't done them because the rabbi, he moved to Florida
Okay, got
and
you,
COVID hit.
got you.
Once
Right.
COVID hit,
Everything changed.
they
Right.
stopped having the events. They
Mm,
haven't, they've had them, but they didn't have us to come. They had a new guy. And
mm,
so that's the only reason why.
got
But
you.
I still stay connected with him. I mean, we talk all the time. He calls me. I'm shocked he didn't call me today. He usually calls me on Martin Luther King Day. Yeah.
Well, that's nice. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. You said something, and I wanted to share this with you too, because I believe I like cross-cultural ministries. I really do. I think it's phenomenal, and because of the many different things I'm involved with, I get a chance to interface with a lot of people who are from different cultures, different religions, different
Right.
backgrounds, just a plethora of things. And I was in Bermuda, and and one of my colleagues, he's Jewish, and his wife was there, and I've known her. We spoke on a regular basis, and she was telling me about a girlfriend of hers who was
Mm-hmm.
who had her husband was really sick, very, very sick.
Wow.
And I asked her, I said, "Do you mind if I pray for him?" She
Mm-hmm.
said, "Oh no, I would love that." So I prayed with her there for her friend's husband. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, "Now, if you don't mind, can I pray in my tradition?" She said, "Oh, please." And so I prayed. And I prayed the Lord would heal and do it and strengthen her girlfriend
Mm-hmm.
so that she would be strong. They happen to be African American, my friend and his wife and I. And when I finished, I prayed and I said, "Amen." And of course, in the name of Christ. And she likewise said, "Amen."
Mm-hmm.
Um, her husband got better.
Wow.
Her husband got better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my friend and his wife and their children, they love me
Mm-hmm.
because I don't press my faith on them.
No.
I live my faith around them.
Exactly.
I become the light that I talk about. I am that light. And so I got a text from my friend this morning. How you and Evelyn praise everything is good for you. My wife and I send our regards, and I sent back, "Thank you so much. I love you guys. Nothing you can do about it. So get used to it. I'm praying for you." But that's how we are. We're really close. We're really close. We've grown to be. He's an optometrist,
Mm.
and I had situation. My vision changed, and my glasses. I wear real glasses, y'all. Like I don't take them off because I can't see without my glasses. And so my vision changed,
Right.
and I had to go and get an examination. I said, "Hey, I need an exam, and I need new glasses." He said, "Come on, I will
Mm-hmm.
take care of you." I
Mm-hmm.
went to his office. He took very good care of me,
Well, yeah.
and took me had me see the doctor, and then he sent me to see a specialist. I mean, he just took great care of me. And all of
Wow.
that because of the love that we share with each other. He's like, and I call him my brother from another mother. And
Wow.
that's what I hear you saying about this rabbi, because that's what it's really about. It doesn't matter. We don't have to have the same faith, but we
No.
but we have the same faith, right?
Let me tell you one thing. We were at a Martin Luther King celebration. We were there. It was getting ready to start at the synagogue. We had been coming for maybe 3 years, and there was a gentleman who had been coming,
Mm,
but he had cancer and he was at the end. The rabbi said, "Roger, would you come?" Because they call each other by their names. I don't have a
right,
problem with people calling me Roger
right, right,
instead of Reverend Doctor
right,
or
right, right,
you know,
exactly.
because that's my name. That's what my
Right,
mother named
exactly.
me.
Right,
And you never heard them call him Reverend Jesus.
right.
So so he asked me to come with him to go to the guy's house, and his daughter must have been about 8 years old.
Mm,
So we went to the house, and I took some of the choir with me. We sang Healing by Richard Smallwood. It's like,
mm,
you know,
mm,
this is like years ago. And we sang, and then, I prayed a prayer, and the family was just so moved because we took time out to come there to do this, for Cy. That was his name. And he wound up passing away,
mhm, mhm.
and so I was saying to the rabbi, I was like, man, that was just the greatest experience, before we sang. And I was telling him, I'm having trouble with my vocal cords. You know, um, I have to see a doctor. And he said, I'm going to take care of you. Just from that experience, he introduced me just like you. He helped you with your glasses.
Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
introduced me to a doctor who did surgery on my vocal cords.
Mm,
I had polyps. They said I would never sing again.
mm,
But the rabbi said, make sure you take good care of him because his voice don't mess it up. And when they were doing this first surgery, um, when they put the tube down my throat, a lacerated part of my
mm,
throat, trying to get it in. The doctor had to stop the surgery. He couldn't complete it, And then he told me he would set up another date. It was bad. I was unconscious, so I didn't have a
Right,
clue.
right, right.
But I wound up going back, and he corrected the problem. You
Mm,
understand? And by the next year, I was there singing again, just as clear.
wow.
Uh, Being a preacher is not good for you vocally,
Right.
you know, because you know how we do. You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
we take it to the limit that you don't have to take it to. You start screaming and start doing
Well,
things.
y'all do that. I'm not a hooper. I just talk. Y'all do
Right.
that.
So
And I don't sing either, so
my hoop days got less.
Yeah.
You understand? I don't go there because I had to learn that I can't do that
Yes,
if
yes,
I'm
yes,
going to
yes.
sustain my voice both ways. But years later, even the doctor called me in. He was looking. He said, "You know what, Roger? I've helped people for so many years,
Mm,
to keep them, healed." He said, "But I neglected myself,
wow.
and I only have like a few months that I'll be here. So this is probably the last time you'll see me."
Hmm.
But you know, he wound up passing, and they called me. His wife called me, and she donated office equipment because they had to shut down the office. She
Mm,
donated all the equipment to my church, which we
wow.
needed. You
Wow.
see how just
Yeah,
things
yeah, yeah, yeah.
just keep going. You understand? So from one thing, just always it leads to something else you never expect. But he was a great guy. But it's all because of my relationship with the rabbi, going to minister to this guy.
Right.
You understand? Then I saw the daughter. She was 8 years old, and she had been following me. I saw her years later singing there, and she was a grown woman going to college. She was doing so
Wow.
well, and she came and hugged me. She said, "Thank you so much for what you did for my dad."
And see, they'll
Because
never
it
forget
really
that. They'll
does.
never forget that.
Never,
Yeah, So,
never.
so, so, like I said, right? People don't care how much you know. They
No,
just want to know that you care. And when you
exactly.
show that, when you exhibit that, they never ever forget that. Now you
Never.
you may not recognize them because this is, an expression of who you are, right? It's you don't do these things because someone essentially asks you. You do them because that's who you are. You have it to
Right.
give and you give it. And so some people you may have done even something that you consider insignificant, but not to them. To
No.
them, it was major. And
That's
so,
just like what you said about your when you do the numbers,
yes,
right?
yes,
You didn't
yes,
know how powerful that was to others.
yes.
You, you
Oh my
understand? You
God.
were just.
Well,
You
you know
see
what
what I'm
happened?
saying?
Yeah, what happened to me one time, this is interesting. I got a telephone call from a funeral director, and they said, "You've been requested." I said, "What?" They said, "You've been requested." I'm preparing a funeral service for a young lady, and she asked me if I could get that preacher that does the thing with the numbers. And I knew exactly who she was talking about, right? So
Mhm.
I was available and I went. I had done a service for her girlfriend's mother 5 years before that,
Wow.
and she remembered.
Do you remember?
And I was saying to myself, I said, I feel something special because I don't. It's not like you. It's not like I sang a song. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
I preached a sermon, and so she said, yeah, but she said I had to have you. She said, I'm so glad that you're available, and she just said, I just wanted you to be the one, and I felt special. I felt something special, but it wasn't me. It was that the Lord placed that on my heart, and I give credit to Reverend Dr. Anthony Lowe.
Mm.
Dr. Lowe actually, he didn't do what I do, but he did something with numbers, right? And he talked about the numbers of hours in the day. And I'm a numbers person. I do finance, right? And it just intrigued me. And then the
Yeah.
Lord just expounded it, right? And I was like, oh my, and when he did it, I was like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing I've ever heard in my life. And then the
Mhm.
way in which he gave me the way to present it, because it's always in the delivery, right? Because you could just espouse numbers, but it's the way in which you share the numbers or that you share the life experience with that person and use those things. That's what makes the difference. And
Mhm.
so I was blown away. I'm always blown away with it. Um, and I'm just always surprised that people come up to me years later and say, "Hey, you preached my mama's funeral, or you preached my dad's funeral. You did," and they remember that. I'm kind of amazed.
Yes.
but I'm humbled because I know it's not me.
I'm amazed every time you do it.
Really?
And I'm sitting there,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm amazed. That's why I asked you to do it. I need to get you to come do it again at the church.
Well,
But
it'd be my pleasure, man.
I'm amazed every single time that I hear you preach. And when you get to that part and you do that part, it's just a blessing, just for you to just figure all that out like you do is
Yeah,
just
yeah,
incredible.
yeah, yeah. It's just an amazing thing. But the Lord does things with every individual because I'm always enamored with musicians because I was a DJ, right? But I
Hmm.
don't sing. I don't sing. And I wasn't much of a rapper. I could spin really well, but I wasn't much of a rapper because the rhythms didn't come to me. But I talked,
Hmm.
which was fine. I had a voice. I talked, but I knew it was not necessarily a quote unquote DJ's voice because you know that because you were there. But it was my voice was more of a radio DJ because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a radio
Right.
disc jockey, and
Like a
so
Frankie Crocker.
exactly, and that's what I was cultivating. So when the rap thing came out, I was like, oh, okay, it got me in front of people, but I had to have a message in my music always,
Hmm.
and that wasn't always easy
Mm-mm.
because people want to throw your hands in the air and all that
Right.
stuff. I did it, but I was like, okay, okay, okay. But I could spin really, I could spin. I could definitely do that. And so sometimes I'd have other people, they would do the rapping and I would do the spinning, and I would just come in and just talk. And then
Hmm.
and then that would, settle everybody in and stuff like that. But yeah, but I think the Lord uses us in peculiar ways because we're peculiar people,
Hmm.
but he does it differently. He doesn't use two persons the same. And I
Mm.
think that sense of uniqueness, that sense of individuality is one of the things that the Lord kind of wants us to do as ministers as well. You don't have to be an imitation. You don't have to copy anybody, especially since he made you an original. You know,
Exactly.
why would you want to be a why would you want to be a copy when you can be the original?
The original.
And don't worry about, well, if it doesn't sound like that person has a better well, that's what happens when you try to become something that you're not.
Hmm.
And you got to stand firm on who God created you to be,
Hmm.
because if you don't, then you really become, so like that imitation person, and I don't want that in my life.
Right. Right. Right.
So, by the way, we're almost at halfway point, which is a good thing, right? What we'll do is I'm going to share my screen again. So there's our beautiful our faces and so forth. But what I want to do is I'm going to recognize our sponsors and advertisers, and I'm going to read the devotional again, and then we're
Okay.
going to we're going to take a little step, right? We're going to talk more about that devotional and pick it apart, and then we're going to look and see what the audience is saying, because that challenge question that I put out there, I want those who are viewing to begin answering that question, and then we'll bring their conversation into our conversation.
Okay.
Okay, so hopefully they'll do that. Many times they don't, but I'm asking them to do that because I know it's kind of like, you don't want to answer a private question publicly, but I really want you to do that, because when you do that, it allows us to have more of a dialogue, and you can become a part of our conversation and not just a fly on the wall. You become a part of our dialogue, and that's what I really want. And so the question that we've asked tonight, you know it, but I'm going to ask it again, is: what has the fear of rejection, ridicule, or loss kept you silent about when God wanted you to speak?
Mm.
So I'm gonna ask it again. I just want everybody to get it, right? I'm gonna put it in the chat too, so everybody will understand, everybody will get it. I'm gonna put it in your chat so that you'll have it. But I want everybody to recognize and then answer that question to the best of your ability, so that we can include you in our conversation. Is that all right with everybody? So hopefully we'll do that and we'll get it done. So I'm putting it into the chat now before we go to our break. Um, let's see. I think I got it all in there too. Yeah, I did. Okay, so bam, I'll do that. Oops, nope, didn't get all the way in there. Let's see. Okay, let me just do this. All right. So the question is now in the chat, so everybody can see that, and then we'll come back after a few minutes. I'm gonna go. You can do the same. I'm gonna take my face off of the screen, and we're just gonna go to part two by going back and reading everything. Okay. So we'll be back in just a few minutes, guys.
And please, ma'am, please, sir, don't forget to support our sponsors and advertisers, the JLR Company and J. Lone R Consulting LLC for all your church financial consulting needs. JLORENR at JLR.LLC or call 718-328-8096. It's not about the castle, it's all about the kingdom. And Matters of Faith, the book. The hard copy can be acquired from our Zelle account, JLORENR at JLR.LLC. The book is $24.15. You can also send a check or money order to the JLR Company, Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. That's P.O. Box 301, New York, New York 10035. And you can also get it as an ebook, so you can take it with you wherever you go. www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. And don't forget to check out the Eat Okra app for black-owned restaurants and a whole lot more about food all over the nation. That's right, Eat Okra. Professional, compassionate, and family-friendly services at your time of bereavement. John J. Fox and Sons Incorporated Funeral Services. If you need them, know that they proudly serve the Bronx community and have been doing so for the last 125 years. When you're in need, give them a call. 718-733-9114. That's 718-733-9114. John J. Fox and Sons Funeral Services. Your focus in your business are on profitability, and rightly so. Your church is on spiritual excellence, and it should be. But if you let E.G. Edwards and Associates Incorporated handle your accounting and taxation needs, they do it with competence and professional excellence, and it will take your mind off of a lot of the things that you need to do in order to maintain your business profitability and your spiritual excellence. They're just a phone call away. 718-949-5181. 718-949-5181. E.G. Edwards and Associates are here to help. 718-949-5181. And please get your subscription to Better Mag magazine today. A 2-year subscription is still only $27.50, and you can get it by going to www.abettermag.com. That's www.abettermag.com. And please, ma'am, please, sir, subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. That's Matters of Faith YouTube channel. And while you're at it, please subscribe to the Matters of Faith blog. Just go to www.mattersoffaith.blog, put in your email address, tap the sign me up link, and you'll get an email. Confirm it, and anytime and every time anything is published through Matters of Faith, you will be notified. So make sure that you support and sponsor our advertisers and our sponsors.
I just want to make a personal invitation to you all. If you're in the New York metropolitan area, tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m., please join us at the Baptist Ministers Evening Conference of the Bronx and vicinity. We start our worship service at 7:30 p.m. It's a wonderful service. We meet at Mount Bethel Baptist Church, 698 Cortlandt Avenue in the Bronx, New York, 10451. That's 698 Cortlandt Avenue, Bronx, New York, 10451. I will be the order of service or the preacher tomorrow evening at 7:30. So please, ma'am, please, sir, make it a point, come out, support, see what we do there. It would be a pleasure to see you. Some of you have not seen before, maybe I've never seen you, but if you're in the New York metropolitan area and you can make your way out to Mount Bethel Baptist Church, join us at the Baptist Ministers Evening Conference of the Bronx and vicinity tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. and I will be the guest preacher for the evening. I'll see you then.
I'm still super excited about our Matters of Faith blog. Please go to www.mattersoffaith.blog. www.mattersoffaith.blog. Click the subscribe button. Type in your email address. Hit that bar that says sign me up. You will receive a confirmation of thanks and then a confirmation email. If you confirm that, you will receive everything that we publish. www.mattersoffaith.blog. And now it's the devotional. Take a stand, not a seat. That devotional can be found in my link, mattersoffaith.blog. That's www.mattersoffaith.blog. It can also be found in the Yonkers Insider, www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. That's www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. The column is also carried in Better Mag magazine, www.abettermag.com. That's www.abettermag.com. It's also carried in the Positive Community magazine and or their newsletter, www.thepositivecommunity.com. That's www.thepositivecommunity.com. The column is also carried in Pamela's Big Heart newsletter. Take a stand, not a seat. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 15, New King James Version. Therefore, brethren, stand fast and hold the traditions which you were taught, whether by word or our epistle. Take a stand, not a seat. To stand is not exceptional for the Christian. It is expected. It is not extraordinary to stand firm in faith, to go where others dare not go, to speak what others are afraid to say, or to live visibly as an ambassador for Christ. This is normal Christianity, and yet, though it is not exceptional, it is increasingly rare. Paul writes to the church at Thessalonica with a clear and urgent charge: stand fast. His words still confront us today because he reminds us that our faith was never meant to take a seat. It was meant to take a stand. We were not given a sit-down faith. We were given a faith that stands up, speaks out, and holds on. When Paul says, stand fast and hold the traditions which you were taught, he is calling believers to cling tightly to the truth of God's word, whether it was taught in person or written in a letter. Truth is our anchor. The word is our source of clarity, accuracy, and power. Without it, we drift. With it, we endure. And endurance is exactly what is required during times of trouble and trial, in seasons of suffering and sorrow, through persecution or poverty, in unemployment and uncertainty, in heartbreak, sickness, and overwhelming circumstances. We are charged to stand. The word or the world will try to seat us with fear, silence us with pressure, and distract us with discomfort. But we must remember, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Whether loved or hated, blessed or cursed, embarrassed or opposed, we stand on the promise that we were chosen for this moment. Someone loved us enough to take a stand and to die so that we could live. Now we honor that sacrifice by standing firm in faith. Persecuted or prospered, abused or advanced, broken or blessed, homeless or heroic, an inmate or an investor, sick or well, in every condition, the call remains the same: stand. Scripture declares that when we suffer for doing what is right, it is commendable before God. 1 Peter 2:20. Faith that stands is faith that endures, and faith that endures is faith that glorifies God. Tomorrow, we will celebrate the birth of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a man who was not afraid to take a stand in the face of tormentors, systemic racism, segregation, threats of physical injury and death, economic oppression, and even ridicule and rejection from members of his own community. He stood firm. He stood when it was dangerous. He stood when it was costly. He stood when it was lonely. And isn't it ironic that many of his detractors and persecutors, especially those who lived long after his assassination, came to regret their position? That is exactly what James was talking about when he wrote, "They will be ashamed of themselves for falsely accusing you when you have only done what is good." James 2:13. I've paraphrased it. Dr. King was willing to declare loud and clear that hate and racism had no place in society founded on the truth that all people are created equal. His stand was not rooted in politics alone. It was rooted in faith, in truth, and in the unshakable conviction that justice is God's idea. So today, we are challenged to make up our minds to stand firm in faith, to grip the truth tightly, and to hold fast to what we have been taught. Because in the end, we have only two choices. We either stand for our faith or we sit because of foolishness. Be blessed. And for the final time tonight, here's my question. I hope you're excited about it because I'm excited about you. What has the fear of rejection, ridicule, or loss kept you silent about when God wanted you to speak? Can I ask it again? What has the fear of rejection, ridicule, or loss kept you silent about when God wanted you to speak? Well, I've given you some information about my guest tonight. You've gotten to know him a little bit yourself. But he's a phenomenal pastor, phenomenal preacher, an exceptional musician. He is a family man. He is a community activist. He's also a man with a great sense of humor. So, Matters of Faith family, would you welcome with me for the second half of our broadcast tonight my friend, brother, and colleague in ministry, my fellow yokeman, the Reverend Dr. Roger Lee Hambrick.
Dr. Hambrick,
Sir.
I put something up on the screen. I did a little research. So tell us what we're looking at. Help us to understand what we're looking at here.
Well, the first picture with the lady touching my faith, that's me and my wife on a cruise that we went on a few years back to celebrate our 30th anniversary. And the next picture is one of my anniversaries. I'm standing up in the pulpit. Then you see me and my wife on our wedding day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in 1989. And that's a long time ago. Jesus. And then you have all the way to your left, if it's the same, but
Mm-hmm.
you see a bunch of people there. That's my family. My dad, who was the pastor of Green Pasture Baptist Church of the Bronx. My mother, Para Lee Hambrick. My sister Tara, who's on the right. Yes, she's the youngest. She passed away some years ago from cancer. And then you have my sister, Reverend Pamela Owsley, next to her with the afro, okay, with the white on. She's one of the reverends in my church. My sister Gwendolyn, who was an awesome singer. My sister Priscilla, Dr. Priscilla Hambrick Dixon. She's also a reverend. She was Dr. Johnny McCann's professor. Yes. And in college, and then my other sister, who's like, as I was growing up, she has on a little light blue with the little afro.
Mm-hmm.
She was like my mother growing up because my mother would be working, my father would be working, and she would take me to school. She would cook my lunch, she would cook my
Mm-hmm.
breakfast, she would cook my dinner, and she's only 2 years older than I am. So ever since I was a little guy, she took care of me. She's still doing it to this day. That's her name, Vicky.
Okay.
And she was an educator. Three of my sisters were educators. And then there's me back there with the Jerry curl with the bow tie. Yeah, that's way back. And then the next picture, that's me and my wife. Those are our alter egos. Reverend Stans, but well, he's been elevated to apostle now.
Okay.
He's been elevated. That's Apostle Standstill, uh, and his wife Miss Smithy. Okay, those are characters that we play in the play. And then I'm standing there. I'm trying to see. I think that's the Bronx Mass Choir there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm with some preachers. Elder Jay Gooding, who is one of the people who participate with Stand Up to Violence. He's a great. Oh my God, he's so awesome. There's the guy in the black suit is a bishop. He's actually a rabbi. and he does a lot of praying at the 47 precinct. He prays every day, 3 times a day with the police before they go out. And then there's the pastor of Burke Avenue Baptist Church, who is standing there with us. And then over here where it says Happy New Year, you have me and my wife and the little guy there. That's my son Manny, and that little girl there is my daughter Ajani. When she was a baby, I do have another daughter, Ariana. She wasn't born yet, but Ajani is the young lady who was the vocal coach for the famous artist Her. And she sings background vocals for her as well. And that's my that picture there with me with that robe on is that's when I did a wedding for my nephew when he got married, Reverend Dorian Malloy Jr.
Yes, sir.
At his wedding, and that's the story that you got up there. That's everybody.
All right. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, and thank you for elaborating a bit. But I have a little something to share with you too. There's someone who made a comment on the broadcast tonight, and they said, and I quote, let's see, where is it? Hold on a second. I had it here a minute ago. I think I touched something and messed up my own programming. Hold on. Yeah, okay, there we go. So she says, I grew up with Reverend Hambrick's sisters, Priscilla and Gwendolyn.
Oh.
Booney and Squeaky.
Yes, their name, Booney and Squeaky. Yep.
And that's Deborah Terrell. I don't know if you know her or not, but Deborah's one of our regular speakers and regular viewers. And so she said, yeah, she knows exactly who they are.
Yes, she knows. You know, my sister, for years, I didn't know their names, their real names. I might have been about 12 years old because we always called Gwen Squeaky.
Right.
And Priscilla was Booney, you know.
Well, I get it
so
because
we're from West Virginia, so.
Yeah. I've been to West Virginia on many occasions, many occasions. But I have a nickname too, and a lot of my family did not know my name. They thought my name was my nickname. So I was like, until I was an adult. I mean, like major.
Are you going to share that nickname?
I'll share it with you. It's actually Candy, Candy, Candy.
Okay, Candy.
And so they thought my name was Candy Russell.
Wow.
For years. In fact, most of my family still calls me Candy. It's fine.
Wow.
No problem. No problem with me.
No
problem. In fact, my mom's from South Carolina, and I remember the first time I preached down there at home church. They put it in the newspaper, and they put Reverend Candy Russell. Because they said nobody will know J. Lauren Russell.
Exactly. They wouldn't have known.
Right. Now they know, but they didn't know then.
Right.
And by the way, that's Rabbi Thompson, Keith Elijah Thompson.
Yes.
That's Rabbi. That's
Rabbi. He's a good man.
Yeah, good man. And I preached at Burke Avenue Baptist Church a couple of Sundays ago.
Oh yeah.
So I was there. Yep, I was there. Yep.
We used to fellowship with them many years ago. So like connecting with the pastor was good because we pass some information to each other, because we be together so much. So it's a good thing.
Yep. And then of course Jay Gooden and I, we just cut buddies, man. That's my man.
Yeah, Jay, he's another preacher at funeral homes, but they love him because he's a good 5 to 10 minute preacher at a funeral.
I know. And done.
He'll give you a quick word.
Yep, quick, and done. Yep.
And they love him.
Yep. Well, we were together. We were together at our borough president's mother's homegoing service. You were there. I was there. Jay was.
Yes.
He did that service as well. So yes, sir. So, by the way, oh, really? Cheryl McNear. You know Cheryl McNear, right?
No.
Okay, well, I know her. And she says, my nickname is Candy, too.
Uh-oh.
So
y'all can store a candy store.
Oh, I'm telling you. And so that is quite interesting because she's one of my chaplains. I started a chaplaincy a while ago. And so
I probably know her by face.
You probably do because she's at the 4-7. She's the president of the precinct council up there.
Okay.
So yes, she's very familiar to me. So listen, guys, I do want you to answer the question, but I'm gonna kick it off by asking our our guest tonight to answer the question, what has the fear of rejection, ridicule, or loss kept you silent about when God wanted you to speak?
Well, when I was becoming, well, I was going through the process of pastorship, to be a
Mm-hmm.
pastor.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I had lost my dad, who was like everything in my world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was really worried about, uh, because at one point I wasn't a candidate. I was really worried about would the church want me as the pastor. So that rejection part um, kept me from saying things or speaking during that time, you know, especially about things that God wanted me to say. But God helped me with that because He silenced me during that period.
Mm-hmm.
So it shut me down because I probably would have said something during that process that would have messed it up. So it kind of flipped and turned out to be a good thing that my fears didn't actually um, cause me to do something,
Right,
just
right,
because
right.
I was fearful, you know. It kind of worked in my favor when God had someone to speak to me and say, the Lord said for you to be silent for this period of time. And when I was going through it, it became evident that I needed to be quiet.
Mm,
It humbled me. I never wanted to be nobody pastor. That's first thing.
mm,
Nobody's. That wasn't something that I desired. Some people do. It's okay, but I didn't want that because I understood it from seeing my father and what he went
right,
through, and
right, right.
I had a good understanding of it and how to organize. But God was setting me up all that time because things um, that I instituted into the ministry that became like
Mm,
things that were locked down in the ministry,
mm-hmm.
you know, that I brought to his attention or whatever, it became like the things that the church was in the direction it was heading, but I never saw it as that, even though I was an ordained reverend, you know. But that little fear of rejection that the people might not want me, and then actually in the process when I wasn't a candidate, um, all of that was resolved when the people it kept me to be quiet,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
say anything. And then God helped me by shutting me down. And then I was able to see how things were really moving in that direction.
Mm,
I was blessed while I was in it, though. But I wouldn't have said nothing. I was going to be quiet when there was times when I should have spoke up, but others either spoke up for me. But that silencing period helped me. I hope that answers your question from my perspective. With
well,
that.
it's good. That's what I was interested in. I was interested in your perspective. It is. I know that sometimes we are silent for many different reasons. Um, you know, um, it's sometimes we think that the Lord, is calling us to to speak up, but we really won't for whatever the reason might be. It might be that we don't feel that we're in the right environment. That if somebody will mistake me,
Mhm.
um, and maybe they'll misunderstand me, and so I won't say anything.
Right.
You
And
know,
God, just with you saying that, you know, God will give you things to say that you wouldn't say.
right?
And sometimes that fear of the people rejecting it or the response
Mm-hmm.
will will cause you to like, well, you'll put it off. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And sometimes as a leader, you do that, but I had to learn to just speak up and say it, say what God is telling me to say. um, I guess he knows who's gonna it's gonna offend if it's gonna do that, or who it's gonna uplift, or whatever it's gonna do.
Mm,
So you just got to trust God in that. You got to exercise that faith. So I think that's where you're saying, like, with where you were saying earlier about people with, exercising their faith
Right.
and believing and trusting in everything, that comes into play,
Right.
when you do have those fears of rejection or whatever the situation may
Right.
be.
Right. And the fear of rejection is real. I mean, I don't know whether or not people really understand how really significant that is. The fear of rejection.
Yeah.
People will go through great lengths to avoid being rejected.
Yes.
Great lengths.
Hmm.
I was in sales and marketing for most of my young life, and most people in the insurance, and it's funny because I was at Union Grove today for their Martin Luther King celebration, and I saw a couple of old colleagues of mine that worked with me 40 years ago
Wow.
at New York Life when I was there. And they were there, and one came up to me. He said, "You're leaving?" I said, and I looked at it, I had to look twice. Horace. And then he said, "Yeah, Archie's with me." I said, "Oh my God." So now, we connected and stuff like that. But I remember back then, um, most people didn't make it. They didn't survive. And the
Wow.
reason that they didn't survive is not because they didn't know the product. And it wasn't because they didn't have the tenacity, or they were short in a meeting with people. You know what I'm saying? They had all of those things, but what they couldn't take was the rejection, the no's, the no's, no, 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 no. And so, with in the training that they had for us, they told us that you have to go through X number of people before you get one person to say yes.
Right.
You have to. That's just the way it goes.
Hmm.
And so initially, I said, well, that I ain't gonna be getting those kinds of no's, but I got them. And then being a young black man trying to, I'm in my early 20s, trying to sell people insurance, tough thing because all the people they were all young too. They had no money. So it was tough. But I said, but wait a minute now. Let me think about this. And this is how I dealt with the rejection. I said, they told us that you have to go through X number of people to get to one yes.
Hmm.
So I started looking for those rejections. I started counting the rejections.
Hmm.
And every time I missed one, I said, I'm closer to that one
There
yes.
you go, counting again.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, right? So I would literally be on the phone trying to make appointments, and I would have my pen, and I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you know how you 1, 2, 3, 4, and just cross and do. I did that, and every time I said, okay, so that means I'm one step closer to that person saying yes,
Yes.
and I did that on a regular basis. I did it every week, every single week, and at the end of the night when we were making telephone calls to try to make appointments, I, of all the new agents, always had more appointments than everybody else.
Mm.
Everybody. And I did that consistently. And then I would go and see people, and people wouldn't show up. They wouldn't be there, the whole.
Yeah,
So I said,
yeah.
okay, let's do this again, right? So I said, every time somebody's not there, that's one down, and I got another one to go because I'm gonna get to those yeses. And then after a while, the no's didn't bother me anymore because I saw them as a necessary in order to get to the yeses.
Hmm.
And so whatever we do,
Wow.
rejection is a part of who we are. I mean, just think about it. If you see a young lady that you like or a young man that you like, and you want to introduce yourself. I'm talking to younger people now, us older people, we married or whatever. But if you see somebody you want, and then you don't want to say anything because you don't want them to reject you.
Right.
Well, go see somebody else. Like or like I remember when we were kids, one young lady told my brother, because he was being hard to get and stuff like that, and she liked him. She said, "There are plenty of birds in the sky. Why should I mess with one that can't even fly?" And I said, "See, because she was looking at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture was there's many more out there like you,
Right.
many better than you.
Hmm.
So I'm not going to get concerned about your rejection." And that's the attitude you have to have, especially as someone who's going to share their faith with somebody.
Hmm.
And the sad truth of the matter is, the majority of people who are followers of the way, followers of Christ, do not share their faith.
Right.
They do not.
No.
The majority of people do not.
Yeah. Well, pastors, we get that rejection all the time. When
Absolutely.
you open up them doors of the church.
Right. That's right. That's right. Nobody comes.
That's why
Nobody's.
when one comes, you rejoice.
That's right. That's right. Nobody moves. You've been looking at the same congregation for the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
No new blood, no new nothing.
Yep.
Hadn't had a baptism in a year.
Mm-hmm.
You start saying, "Man, what's going on? What am I doing wrong?"
Right. Right. Yeah. So that's part of the process. Yeah. That's deep.
So Cheryl, by the way, she gives us an answer. She responded. She said, "Not speaking may cause you to lose your voice, the ability to express. After
Oh.
40 years of silence, my voice is just returning.
Mm.
The flesh may feel fear, but I am committed to speak. Never
Well,
want to lose my voice again."
you know what? With age, you speak more.
Yeah, what you got to lose?
Well,
Well,
as you get older, you'll speak a whole lot more than you would when you was
yeah,
young.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And
You ever see those seniors? They'll let you have it.
that's right. That's right. I mean, think about being in a meeting or being in a business meeting of some sort, or being in a meeting with politicians or whatever, and,
Right.
and they're saying things that you don't agree with,
Right.
and you won't say anything.
You won't say nothing.
And why? Because, I don't want to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about.
Or you're a troublemaker.
Right, right. Well, I've learned that I ask questions,
Mm-hmm.
raise my hand.
Yeah.
Hey, me.
That's the way to get answers.
That's right. And then because what happens is if you don't do that, you may be sitting there and you never really get what you
No.
need because you never put it out there. And somebody else might be thinking the same thing and they don't get what they need because you didn't ask the question.
Right.
And your confidence might be a little bit greater than theirs. So we can't hold back on speaking out. We can't,
Yeah.
because it can actually be detrimental to the well-being for somebody else. In my church I'm serving, I don't have a church I'm serving. We have what I call testimony period. So like, listen, everybody has a testimony. So get used to telling your story. So everybody, not every, but I open it up, right? So let people speak. And initially, when I first started doing it, nobody said anything
Right.
online or in person.
Why?
Kept doing it. I just kept doing it. So let me give my testimony. So I would give a testimony. Something happened to me that week.
Mm-hmm.
Now on yesterday, let me see. I think, and I write them down because sometimes they're just making a prayer request.
Mm-hmm.
But I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people who gave testimonies yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
That was more than we've ever had before. And I mean all kinds of different things. And I felt good because now, the testimony becomes your elevator talk.
Right.
How do you speak to people when you want to share your faith? You tell them your story.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you do it. And you build up confidence, and your confidence overcomes your fears. If I know what I know, then I don't have to be ashamed nor afraid to speak it if I've spoken it before.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they're getting used to it. And used to be just one. Now there's others, and they're joining in. And some of them put them in the chat, so they put it in the chat because they didn't want to speak. But that's okay. That's okay. Get used to telling the story.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, you're right, Cheryl. Sometimes it is better to ask a question than to make an accusatory statement.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
Very good. Yeah, because you can easily just tell, just mad at somebody and tell them you wrong and just go on with that. But no, nothing beneficial comes out of that.
No.
Nothing. 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 So in that, in the devotional, I want to call it. In my mind keeps saying, an article. It's not an article. It's a devotional. Devotional. But when Paul says, "Stand fast and hold the traditions which you were taught,"
Mm-hmm.
this is what I wrote. He is calling believers to cling tightly to the truth of God's word, whether it was taught in person or written in a letter. Truth is our anchor. The word is our source of clarity, accuracy, and power. Without it, we drift, and with it, we endure. So it's the power that we've gotten because of the word that has been implanted in us. We know what we know because of what we have experienced. And we experienced it either through the conversations that they had with you, Pastor, the way you preached, the way you taught them, or they read it in the Bible, but they got it. And
Right.
now the challenge is, now that it's in you, how do you get it out?
That's
How
the
do you get
truth.
it out? I don't care what you're going through, because the gentleman, Reverend Dole, I can't think of his last name. Dole preached. He preached an incredible sermon today at Union Grove, and he said something that was quite interesting. Talked about when you when you are sick. He said that he was diagnosed with cancer.
Hmm.
He said, and when he was talking to his daughters, he said, the doctor said that I have cancer. He said, I never said it. I never said it. The doctor said that.
Right.
He said, I told the doctor, I'm not claiming any cancer. In 30 days, I will be healed.
Wow.
And the
Powerful.
doctor said, well, this. He said, no, no, that's what you say. 30 days, I'm going to be healed. He said, so the doctor didn't quite get it, and, I hear what you're saying, sir, but, this is more serious than that. He said, look, I don't know about you, but the God that I serve is able. The God that I serve is a healer.
Hmm.
And I'm not claiming that illness. That doesn't belong to me. The Christ that I serve is able, and he's going to heal me in 30 days. He said, let me give you something. He wrote it down. He's put the date on it. He said, oh, that's nice. I like to see you journaling stuff. He said, it's not a journal. I'm telling it to you so you have a witness. He said, I'm guaranteeing you as a witness. 30 days, I'll be healed.
Hmm.
In 30 days, he was healed.
Hmm.
And he said, the doctor's now a member of his church.
I
And
know that's right.
the doctor had never gone to church before. Now he's a member of his church.
Hmm.
Because he said, and I love this when he said it. He said, this is, he says, I'm not at church to play church. I'm at church because I believe in the power and the glory and the might of my God.
Yes.
And I said, I love it. I love it. I love it. He says, because as we think in our minds, we create because God gave that to us. And if we speak that into our lives, that's what we get. We
Right.
manifest it in the flesh, because the power of life and death is in the tongue. So I never said that I had cancer. He said, I said, the doctor said that I had cancer.
Right.
I don't have cancer. And I like that because it is a part of our makeup. And so we've got to be bold enough to take that stand. And you know what? I'm saying it. I don't have it.
Right.
The doctor said, but I'm saying I don't have that. I'm not receiving that at all.
That's faith.
Yes.
That's what make you whole.
Yep, yep. And by the way, Deborah says, I have a voice now from experience of not having it at a young age. I am inquisitive and need to know, so I don't people please filter my question. I need to know so that I, people don't just filter my Deborah, rewrite that because I'm not quite sure what you mean there. I am inquisitive and need to know, so I don't people please. Oh, I said I get it. So I don't people please. I just filter my questions.
Hmm.
So she's saying that when she was younger, she didn't have that voice. When she was hanging out with your sister, she didn't have that voice. But now she's being inquisitive and she needs to know so that she doesn't people please. You know how
Right.
people just say things just to please other people?
Yes.
And just filter my questions so that they don't feel intimidated or bad because I've said something.
Right.
I know what that's like. I know what that's like. Have you ever heard? Let me see if I can find it. But you can comment on what she said if you care to. I want to share something with you.
Yeah. No, we don't want to people please, Deborah. You're right. Mm-mm. That's the problem with people. They're so busy trying to please people They ain't nowhere near pleasing God.
Mm-hmm.
Cause, but they don't get it. Uh, mm-mm. And I like the story with the preacher, exercising his faith,
Mm-hmm.
and stating that he don't have cancer. That's the problem with the church right now.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
The
No doubt
lack of
about it.
faith. You understand? God could do anything he wants to. But you know what else? You need the report from the doctor.
That's right.
So that could be wrong.
That's right.
You
That's right.
need the report from the doctor. You need proof of the report
Yep.
that they say you have cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he said in 30 days I'll be healed, guess what? That's why that doctor could become a member because he heard the
Absolutely.
report.
Absolutely.
He stated the report.
Right. Right.
So he was so when he that man was healed in 30 days, he said it could only be God.
Right. Because we see 6 months here, a year,
Exactly.
And what's interesting, and I really believe this, right? Because my prayer is always that the Lord will show doctors, let them see the miracle.
Yes.
Because sometimes they think that the education that they have gained is what's doing the healing. Now, the doctors who really know, the doctors will say they don't cure anything. They just have figured out ways to help the body to do what the body's already been designed to do, which is heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I wanted to share with you. I've read this before. Some of you have known this. This is written by Marion Williamson.
Mm-hmm.
You might have heard it if you watched the Great Debaters with Denzel Washington.
Mm-hmm.
He quoted it, and Nelson Mandela quoted it when he became president of South Africa. He said, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God." Here's the part that I like. Your playing small does not serve the world. Shrinking. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people don't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We are all meant to manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in every one of us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
That's
I mean, think
amazing.
about it, because sometimes we play small, we play down, we dumb ourselves down so that other people feel comfortable.
Exactly.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't do that anymore. I used to. I really used to. I used to play down because I didn't want people to feel uncomfortable around me, because let's say I knew something that maybe I thought they did, but I knew they didn't. So I kind of watered myself down so that I don't make them feel uncomfortable in my presence. I don't do that anymore.
Mm.
Because truthfully speaking, I'm supposed to be, if I'm going to be God's child, God's ambassador, I've got to help people to come up to a level,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I'm empathetic with them, but I'm not climbing in the mud with you.
Right.
I'll give you a hand out. I'll throw you a rope. I'll do whatever I have to do. And if I get down in the mud, it's so that I can push you out,
Mm-hmm.
not so I can stay there. And I'm going to have the rope so I can pull myself out if I'm there, because my role is to help people to come up to a higher level.
Right. Right. If you could only understand, I'm trying to get you there.
Right. Right. That's all you need. If you can just get that.
Right. And some people,
Just get that.
some people, they try to, um, they try to cover it with like likes or dislikes.
Mm,
You know, like, or what you may not want them to do, or you may want them to do. Like sometimes people do that. They play that victim role. Like,
mm.
when you're actually trying to get them to grow or to get to the next level,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and to actually be honest about their situation
Right.
sometime, you know, sometimes, you know, but they use that, you know, as a defense so that what it does to you is, you know, they doing that. So you don't want to tell them the truth or don't want to
Right.
state the truth because they're they're in that mode where they're saying like, well, he don't want me to be this, he don't want me to do this, and he ain't gonna let me do that. And the other people are hearing it. So now we're back to that situation like rejection, you know what I mean, on your part. Because if you say what you need them to do, or you need to do, you're not doing this, or you can't do this because of this or whatever, they
Mhm.
already got that defense thing set with others to see
Right.
that you won't allow them or whatever. But look, I'm not even concerned with that. I
Mhm.
have to get you there. I'm
Right.
trying to help you.
Right. Right. Right.
You know, let me give you an example. Like there's somebody that had been going through a financial situation for like 3 years in a row. For the last 3 years, um, their taxes
Mm.
has overwhelmed them to the point where they had to get help each time. You understand? So and they're not able to live where they're living. So what I told the person, first of all, you need to change where you're living at. You need to start looking. You're a senior now. Find you a senior apartment. You know, the rent will be less. You'll have more money from your job. You know, um, get somebody to help you so that you don't run into the same tax problem. Maybe you're not getting enough taken out.
Mm.
You know, you understand? Um, so in trying to help them, you know, they got bullhead. They like, no, I'm not gonna move out. Come on, I'm comfortable. I got a 2 bedroom apartment. You know, I'm living in a 2 bedroom apartment with all this room. I'm gonna scale down and but my point was like, well, listen, you're at the age now where you should be enjoying your life and don't be worried about all them bills you got. You know, I'm trying to help them get in a better place. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
understand?
Right. 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 But yeah. See, but then they say, you know what, you trying to take away my good thing.
Yeah.
I get here, you know, I got space, but you
uh,
know, you're right, because sometimes downsizing does not mean that you have to eliminate the things that you have come to like.
you're probably going to get more out of it because
Much
if you're
more.
not paying as much rent, if you're not paying like instead of paying $1,600 rent and you only paying because you're a senior, you're
Right.
paying like $350. You got more money every month to work with. You could go on a cruise, you could go on vacation, you could do things that you could do. You could buy you some things. You could. It's just too much for you, right where
Right.
you in the situation
Right.
you're in.
Right.
So some
Right.
people
Right.
never can see that. You know,
Right. They can't, and they, matter of fact, they don't want to see it.
no, they don't want to
They
see
don't
it.
want to see it because, and see, most of the times, they have more than they need,
Exactly.
much more than they need.
Hmm.
And so they don't want to give it up because if they, you know, I need this, I need that. But you know, essentially you become like a hoarder.
Right.
You're hoarding it. You don't need that. You just want that. See, the Lord said, I'll supply your every need,
Every need.
not your
Yes.
wants,
Right.
not your wants and desires. I'll provide and supply your needs. And
Right.
so what we do is we turned our needs into our wants. So we
Right.
want to have this. I want that. So if I
Right.
want it, I've worked for it. So I should have it because I want it, and that's
Because
enough.
I want it.
Right.
But
No, had nothing to do, had nothing to do with anything else except that I want it. So if I want it, I should be able to get it.
right.
And that becomes the issue that most people grapple with when they're trying to look at seeing whether or not they're going to downsize or whether or not they're going to remain in their space and then absorb all of the stuff that's going on around them, but speaking the truth to them, right? Not, you know, not in a harsh way,
No.
way that helps you, right? So let's take a look at this. And you know what I like to do, you know, I was a financial planner. That's what I did. New York Life and everything. What I do with people is I do this. I say, okay, let's do something. Let's make a T chart. And I'll draw a line right down the page. Say, talk about what happens if you stay here. Let's put all those on this side. Let's put all those things out. What do you get if you stay here? Right? You got to pay the rent, all the things that's going on here. Now let's look at the other side. What will happen if you don't? If you decide to downsize, what actually happens? Because now I'm going to let you see what you can't see on your own. I'm going to put it on a piece of paper and write it down for you.
Exactly. Like the
So
Bible say, write it down.
make it plain. So
Make it
if
plain.
you see it and you say, you know what, that makes sense. If I stay here, I'm going to have. I'll give you, for instance, I had a woman that I was working with. She had a beautiful apartment. Oh my God, beautiful apartment. But she was cash poor.
Mm.
Wasn't getting enough money. A beautiful apartment, but wasn't getting enough money to take care of herself. And so we looked at it. I looked at it, and she owned the apartment. It's co-op. I said, "You gotta sell this apartment. You gotta sell it."
Hmm.
I said, "You can't afford it." So we went back and forth the emotional pieces and stuff like that. So she decided to do it. When she sold it, tell you how good God is, how good God really is. Not only did she find an apartment that she can afford, but we sold the house, we did some financial repositioning. So she now has an income that
Hmm.
allows her not only to pay for the apartment, we schedule this so when she has increases in rent, it won't bother her at all. We
Hmm.
put some money away into an account so it's just sitting there.
There
So
you
she
go.
has an emergency fund. She found an apartment right around the corner from where she owned her apartment. But
Exactly.
it and then her apartment was in the back. She got no sunlight. Now she get all the sun. Every time
All,
the sun comes
all
out,
sun she need.
she loves it. She says, "I'm having so much fun." And then she doesn't have any financial issues. And she had a situation where she hadn't been to her dentist. Her teeth.
Wow.
Now she can go to her dentist and do what she has to do. And all those things cleared up. I love her. I've known her since I was a little kid,
Hmm.
but to be able to do that, to be able to do that. Now just think about it. If I had said, well, I'm not going to say anything because she might not take my advice if I say this to her.
Right, right,
She'd have
right,
been struggling. She'd have probably lost the apartment. She'd have
right,
probably went into depression and all of
right.
that kind of stuff. And she's able now even to pay her tithes
Mm.
on a
See,
regular basis.
see, there you
God
go.
is good.
There you go.
God is good. Hey, listen, we're almost out of time. Almost out of time. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to share with us in any way that you see fit, any way that you want to. And then I'm going to share the screen. I got something the Lord placed on my mind to close us out with. But I want to thank you in advance for taking the time out of your schedule to
Oh,
come
no.
on and be a part of Matters of Faith. I'm sure the family appreciates it because they've said some things. I've looked at their comments and so on and so forth. So I know that they enjoyed your being with us tonight. So
Okay.
thank you. And
Okay.
then we'll go and then we'll put some things on the screen and then we'll just go from there. So,
Well,
yes, sir.
thank you for having me, and I thank all of those who are on with you tonight, your listeners, for their comments, and I'm glad that somebody was on here who knew my sisters.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh,
By the way, she says she's downsizing now, but for some reason, the more she gives away, the more comes back. Because you can't beat God given. How's that?
well, listen, text me her name because I'm going to tell both of my sisters
I'll do
that
it. I'll do it.
that I spoke with her,
I'll
and
do it.
because I'm not going to remember it off the top of my head.
I'll do it.
I'm turning 69 on the 28th,
Praise the Lord.
and Green Pasture Baptist Church of the Bronx is giving me a 69th birthday celebration at the church. This year we're going to do it at the church. Next year we're going out for 70.
Where's it going to be?
It's
Tell me
going to be
when.
held in our dining hall.
When?
It on the 31st of January.
Yeah, that's the
The tickets
Saturday.
are
What time?
$75. You're gonna get the best food you could have in the world. That's one thing. The cooks, first of all, my sisters are cooking, so
Uh-oh.
I mean, we're gonna have all the goodies. I mean, they're gonna even have stuffing.
Booney and Squeaky?
Yes. Well, Squeaky's gonna be cooking. Boonie ain't cooking,
Okay. All right.
but she'll be there. But yeah, Squeaky's specialty is stuffing.
Okay.
And so she's doing her specialty, and my other sisters are doing theirs. So the food is going to be all really great. Going to be a good fellowship. We're going to have a lot of fun. It's not going to be churchy. but we like to come together and have fun, and do
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah.
So it's gonna really be nice. So it's just $75.
But just make sure you
Anybody
give me
would
an
like.
invitation, okay? Maybe I'll come by.
The location is 1115 Ward, Ward Avenue, 10472. That's 1115 Ward Avenue, Bronx, New York, 10472. And it's on the 31st. I'll send a flyer
Okay.
so that this way you can see. So anyone who's online, if you would, you can. You could even text me, and I'll pass the information along to those of my pastor's aide who is sponsoring it. My number is 917-304-0090. I'll say it again, 917-304-0090. That's Roger Hambrick. That's my name in case somebody forgot. And we welcome you to come fellowship with us. We're going to have a great time. I will be there tomorrow night to hear you preach.
All right. All
I'll get
right.
there a
I
little late
appreciate
because
it.
I have Bible study, but I will get there before you get up, probably right before you get up.
Yeah, we don't get up until about 8:30, quarter to 9. So
Yeah, so I'll be there to support you on tomorrow night. All
I
right.
appreciate that. I do appreciate that. And by the way, we have just to let you know, I'm so excited about that. The 31st. I'm not sure. I'm not looking at my calendar yet, but I think that I'll just have to make arrangements to come over and share with you because I think that's an important thing. Especially that 69th birthday. I mean, that's a very important day.
Yeah, that's.
I know it intimately.
Are you already 69? Or are you getting ready
Oh,
to?
May 8th.
Oh, so you're a little younger than me.
I am. I mean, you got me beat. You got me beat. That's why.
Okay.
That's why. That's why I would dog you on the basketball court because you're old.
I remember them days.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We go back a while, y'all. I just want y'all to know that. Dr. Hambrick and I have a little history going together, and his wife and I used to work together.
Yes, my wife
So,
always talks about how y'all used to work together.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So we have a little history. We have a little history. So let me share with them. We're going to probably be a couple of minutes over the 10 o'clock hour, but please stay with me. Listen, exceptional is considered extraordinary, brilliant, special, incomparable. Webster's dictionary says that it is defined as something that is better than average, something that deviates from the norm. This promise still speaks today. To take a stand should not be exceptional for the Christian. It should be expected. It should not be exceptional to take a stand and be firm in faith, to go where others dare not go, to speak what others are afraid to say, or to live visibly as an ambassador for Christ. This should be normal Christianity, although it should not be exceptional. It is increasingly rare. That's right. It should not be exceptional for a Christian to be always ready to share their hope and their faith in Christ with others, but unfortunately, it's not practiced regularly. I believe that I would be damned and would ruin myself if I watered down this gospel. My heart is determined to take a stand, not a seat, and bring forth the gospel in all its fullness. That's me. But I can't be the exception. I've got to be the rule. Think about it. If I were an exceptional case, my name would have been written in the pages of the Holy Writ along with Peter and Paul and Matthew and Mark and John. But I'm not an exception. I must be the rule. You must be the rule. We must be the rule. Dr. King was willing to share, to declare loud and clear that hate and racism has no place in society founded on the truth that all people are created equal. His stand was not rooted in politics alone. It was rooted in faith and truth and in the unshakable conviction that justice is God's idea. As it was in Dr. King's lifetime, so it is today. We are challenged to make up our minds to stand firm, grip the truth tightly, hold fast to what we have been taught. Because in the end, we have only two choices. We are all called to the same task, to reach the lost for Christ. We either stand for our faith or we sit because of foolishness. Let me pray for y'all. Eternal and faithful God, we thank you for calling us not to be seated, not to a seated faith, but to a standing faith. When the winds of fear blow and the pressure of to be silent grows strong. Give us the courage to stand firm and to hold tightly to the truth you have taught us. Strengthen us, O God, when standing is hard and costly, when justice is delayed, when righteousness is mocked, when doing good brings suffering instead of applause. Remind us that endurance and faith glorifies you. We thank you for the witness of those who stood before us, for prophets who spoke truth, for apostles who endured persecution, and for servants like Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who stood in love when hate raged, and in faith when fear threatened to overtake hope. Make us bold where we have been timid, faithful where we have been fearful, and steadfast when we have been tempted to sit down. Help us stand in truth, stand in love, stand in justice, and stand in the power of your Holy Spirit. Now, Lord, send us from this place, ready to stand for what is right, hold fast to what is true, and live in a way that brings glory to your name. We ask this in the strong, sustaining name of Jesus, the one who stood for us even unto death, and rose so that we might stand in victory. Amen. Take a stand, not a seat. Now, please don't forget our sponsors and advertisers, the JLR Company, J-Law R Consulting, LLC, for all your church financial needs. Just call us, 718-328-8096, 718-328-8096. You know we do church consulting. We do trustee training. We do all kinds of stuff here, and you should be a part of it. Email us at jlornr@jlr.llc. That's JLORENR@JLR.LLC. It's not about the castle. It's all about the kingdom. Please subscribe to the Matters of Faith blog, mattersoffaith.blog, www.mattersoffaith.blog, so that you'll get our devotionals every Sunday that we publish, and anything else that we publish, you'll get it. Matters of Faith, the book, I've been talking about it all night. This is the book. If you don't have a copy of this book, you need to get it. This is the hard copy. You can get it using our Zelle. You can use JLORENR@JLR.LLC. The book is $24.15, but that covers shipping and handling. But you can get it as an ebook. If you get it as an ebook, you go to smashwords.com. That information is in the chat. No shipping and no handling. All you do is download it and you get it immediately. And the book online is only $20. Better Mag Magazine, www.abettermag.com. A 2-year subscription is still only $27.50. John J. Fox and Sons Incorporated, they do funeral services. They're professional, they're compassionate, and they're family friendly. They've been serving the Bronx community for 125 years. If you let them serve your family, I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Just give them a call, 718-733-9114, 718-733-9114. E.G. Edwards and Associates, they're incorporated, y'all. They will handle your tax and accounting business. They do it with competence and professional excellence, financial solutions, taxes, and anything else that you have going on. Payroll, if that's what you do, they do it with excellence. Just give them a call, 718-949-5181, 718-949-5181. And please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. That's the Matters of Faith YouTube channel. You're watching it tonight, or either you're watching it on Facebook, but subscribe to the Matters of Faith YouTube channel and the Matters of Faith blog, www.mattersoffaith.blog. Please do that. Please, ma'am. Please, sir. Telephone, text, email, message, any way you do it. But tell a friend to join us regularly on Monday nights for Matters of Faith, the radio show. We broadcast live on our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. We also drop each episode on our Matters of Faith and J. Lauren Russell's Facebook groups. So please, ma'am, please, sir, make sure you don't miss a single episode of Matters of Faith because you didn't subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel, or you missed an article or devotional because you did not subscribe to mattersoffaith.blog. Don't be that one. Be the one who's in, not out. And I thank God for my guest tonight, Reverend Dr. Roger Lee Hambrick. I'm so grateful to you for carving out time from your very busy schedule to grace us with your presence. You have been a blessing and have helped us to see how we can live our faith by taking a stand to be all we were created to be, not sitting down on our gifts. You have exemplified that in your life and in your ministry. Thank you for being with the Matters of Faith family tonight.
Thank you.
Remember, take a stand, not a seat. Now, please join us next week at the same time in the same space. We will be live on Matters of Faith YouTube channel, as well as the Matters of Faith and J. Law and Russell Facebook groups. The devotional and the column will be published in its usual places. Now, if no one has told you this tonight, no one has told you this today, then I want to be the first to say, let me be the first to say, I love you, and there's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. So
All right.
Now, the Lord bless you, the Lord keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. So good night and God bless to all of you.